First contact. The battlefield was a crimson wasteland, littered with the debris of two warring species. The Xal'ara, a proud and technologically advanced race, were skilled warriors who valued strength and domination above all. Their elite soldiers were feared across the galaxy, but none were more formidable than the Amazonian hunters. Tall, powerful Xal'ara females bred and trained solely for battle. Among these warriors was Commander Xal'ara, a legendary Amazon fighter known for her ruthlessness and precision in combat. Standing nearly 7 feet tall with cobalt skin and glowing, predatory yellow eyes, she had spent years leading her unit in a brutal war against the Terran Union, the humans. For the Xal'ara, weakness was death. Showing mercy was seen as dishonor. The humans were their bitter enemies, and the Xal'ara had learned to fear and respect them for their unpredictable nature. Despite the humans' smaller size and less advanced technology, they had proven remarkably resilient, resourceful, and cunning. It was their tenacity that made them dangerous, something Xal'ara had learned the hard way after several hard-fought battles. Today was different, though. Her unit had been ambushed, their ship shot down, and they were trapped behind enemy lines. After a relentless firefight, most of her squad had been wiped out. Xal'ara, the lone survivor, found herself bleeding and cornered in a desolate ravine. As she staggered through the smoldering wreckage, a shadow fell over her. Her senses, dulled by pain, barely registered the presence before it was too late. A human soldier stood just a few meters away, rifle raised and aimed directly at her head. The moment of truth. Xal'ara prepared herself for death. She had lived a warrior's life and expected to die a warrior's death. She had seen her fellow Amazons fall in battle and knew her time had come. She bared her fangs, her lips curled in a defiant snarl, waiting for the inevitable shot that would end her existence. The human stared at her, breathing heavily, his eyes reflecting both the chaos around them and something else she couldn't quite decipher. Her vision swam, but she held his gaze, refusing to show fear or ask for mercy. She was a Xal'ara, and to beg was beneath her. But then, something unexpected happened. The human lowered his weapon. Xal'ara blinked, her mind struggling to comprehend the action. He should have killed her. This was war, and her people had been merciless to his. Yet he hesitated. She was vulnerable, an enemy soldier, a killer responsible for the deaths of his comrades, but he didn't pull the trigger. Instead, he knelt beside her, slinging his rifle across his back. From a small pouch on his waist, he pulled out a medical kit. Xal'ara, confused and enraged, managed to growl, "Why don't you kill me, human?" The soldier, his face hidden behind a visor, paused for a moment before answering. "Not today," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Not like this." He began tending to her wounds, working with swift, practiced hands. Xal'ara wanted to resist, to claw at him, to demand a fight, but her body betrayed her. The exhaustion, blood loss, and sheer disbelief of the moment made her compliant. She stared at him in silence as he patched up a gash on her leg. His touch was gentle, careful even, as though she were not the deadly Amazon warrior who had spent years slaughtering his people. The more he worked, the more her rage gave way to confusion. In her world, mercy was weakness. But this human, this Terran soldier, was doing something she had never seen before. He was helping her, an enemy combatant, alien mercy. Once he had finished, he stood up and stepped back, letting Xal'ara sit up on her own. She was still weak, but the pain was manageable now. The healing patch he applied was already taking effect. She glared at him, searching his face for answers. "Your people, they will see this as treason," she spat. "You're a coward." He shook his head, unbothered by her accusation. "Maybe, but I don't see the point in killing someone who's already lost the fight." Xal'ara's mind reeled. Where was the honor in that? She had heard stories of human compassion, of their strange moral codes, but she had dismissed them as propaganda. But now, as she sat, alive and breathing thanks to her enemy's mercy, she was forced to confront something she had never considered. "Why?" she asked, her voice softer now, more curious than angry. "Why would you let me live? I would not have done the same for you." The soldier, who she now noticed wasn't much taller than her when she was seated, looked out at the battlefield. "Maybe that's the difference between us," he said quietly. "You've been taught to kill, to win at all costs. But sometimes it's not about winning. Sometimes it's about surviving. Maybe that's why humans are still here." His words stung in a way Xal'ara hadn't expected. She had always viewed humans as fragile, inferior. And yet here she was, being saved by one who had the power to end her life. "Will you take me prisoner?" she asked, unsure of what came next. The soldier glanced back at her, his expression unreadable behind the visor. "No, but you should get out of here before someone else finds you." He turned and began to walk away. Xal'ara watched him, stunned by the sheer absurdity of the situation. She could attack him now, kill him with ease. He was leaving himself open. But something in her, something primal, held her back. For the first time in her life, she felt a sense of respect for a human. Before he disappeared into the distance, she called out, "What's your name? Terran?" He paused but didn't turn around. "Dave." With that, he vanished into the smoke, leaving Xal'ara alone with her thoughts. The seeds of change. For the rest of her life, Xal'ara would remember that day. The day a human showed her mercy. It haunted her, challenged everything she had been taught. The Centauri believed mercy was a weakness, but David had proven that it could also be a strength. The war continued, but Xal'ara was never the same. Her encounters with humans took on new meaning. And though she remained a fierce warrior, a part of her began to question the endless cycle of violence. And somewhere, on another distant battlefield, David fought on, not knowing the profound impact he had left on a warrior from another world.